Okay. All right. We are live and I want to welcome you to our event. I just want to make sure as I'm testing. All right. Okay. Looks like we are live and yep, we're going. All right. So that's what I want to do. This is my first LinkedIn event, you guys. Thank you for showing up, coming in. I'm very excited about what we're going to talk about today. This is our Nurse Shark Academy Financial Freedom Workshop. This has been a journey for me to learn how to do new things with technology. So I'm excited about that. And let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and see how well we do with that. Okay. All right. And I'm just making sure that you're able to see everything before we go ahead and get started. So I'm checking back on the feed. Um, and it looks like it's working. And so I want to make sure that you can see the slides. Yes, there we are. Perfect. All right. That's exactly what I wanted to do. So let's go ahead and get started and jump right in. So thank you for tuning in, guys, and showing up. I really do appreciate this. I thought about this topic because when talking with different nurses about wanting to start businesses and looking to do things, there were three things that kept coming up. you know I don't have time, I don't have money, I don't know where to start. And so I wanted to share some information with you to help you along your journey. So a little bit about how the Nurse Shark Academy started, just so you'll know a little bit who we are and who I am. My name is Tina Baxter. I'm a nurse practitioner, a legal nurse consultant, and a business owner. And I started out where a lot of you probably are starting out with an idea. And I I started out as a legal nurse consultant by being asked to sit on a medical review panel, and then they said, "Well, after you review these cases and we have the panel, we pay you this much." I said, "Okay, fine." He said, "And then you go to deposition, and then we need your fee schedule." And I'm like, what's a fee schedule?" And so that's kind of how I got started in business. So I had to learn as I go in a lot of different ways. And I wanted to make it easier and simpler for other nurse entrepreneurs to figure out how to get started. So that's where the Nurse Shark Academy was born. So today we're going to talk about those three myths. We're going to talk a little bit about nurse entrepreneurship. For those of you that are new to this concept, I know that there are several of you that are signed up that are already coaches and mentors and out there doing your thing. And I thank you for supporting me and coming on and listening to this. But so some of this may be things that you already know and do in practice, but there may be some things that may come up that is a good reminder, because even me being an entrepreneur and having been in business for several years now, there's certain things that I needed to be reminded of as well. So we're going to talk a little bit about nurse entrepreneurship as an overview and the three myths of not having time, not knowing where to start, and not having money. So let's go ahead and get started so that we can make sure that we have plenty of time. And if you have questions, please put them in the chat, because I am checking the chat and I'll be happy to share with you what I have. Okay, so let's just dive in. So let's talk about what is an entrepreneur, because for a lot of nurses, they don't know what an entrepreneur is. You have kind of an idea in mind, and we always think of someone like Mark Zuckerberg, or we may think of Elon Musk, and we think of people that are out there doing the very big things, but forgetting that maybe it's the mom and pop shop next door, that they're also entrepreneurs. And what does that mean to be an entrepreneur? Many of us have traditional jobs where someone tells us what time to come into work, when we have to leave, how much we're going to get paid. And so we haven't come into it with the mindset of being an entrepreneur, where you really are setting the rules for how you want to conduct your business. And so an entrepreneur is a person who sets up a business with the aim to make a profit. Now, you can be an entrepreneur and have a nonprofit business, and your goal is to make the profit for the business. Is not necessarily for you as a owner. And so there's that difference. So a lot of people who start nonprofits think that they're not in it for making money and not making profit. But yes, you are in it to make money as your nonprofit. Otherwise, you won't have a nonprofit for long, because you have to have money to run the organization, to do the passion project, the thing that you're really interested in. And I've sat and worked with many nonprofits and worked on their boards. And that's something that as a nonprofit, you have to think about. But let's, for our all intents and purposes, for right now, let's talk about starting a for-profit business, because I think that is where most nurses start out with, is wanting to make money to take care of their families and a business of their own. So you could be a freelancer, someone that puts out their skills in the freelance space. And when I first started out as a nurse, I did a private duty for a select amount of clients. I set it up. This is how, this is really old school. This is how I set up my business. That I didn't know that you're supposed to do all the stuff for the business, right? I just got a business card. When I became an RN, they said you need a business card. So I made a business card. And I think somewhere I still have my very first original business card, which is some logo of a nurse that I found somewhere on some sort of stock logo. And I just put my name, and I put my phone number. And then I thought, I don't want to put my home address on there. So I got a post office box. By the way, that's still the post office box that I use for all of my business. That's my mailing address. I still have it after all these years. I still have the same post office box. But that's how I started as a freelancer. And then I used that business card not only for any private duty that I would do for someone, like, for instance, you needed a bath aid and someone to help your mom get her bath. I would help do that kind of stuff. And I did a lot of that through the churches and things like that, just helping people out. But I also used it when I was teaching CPR classes, is that I have a business card that I could hand you, because, back then that's the only thing you had that proved that you were in business. There was no website, no real email or anything like that at the time. It was a business card and a phone number and a PO box. You could be a side hustler. So maybe you have a job that you're working your 9 to 5, but you're doing something on the side, and you're looking at doing that. And that's exactly what I did as a nursing student. I was a side hustler. I taught CPR classes on the side as I went to nursing school, and I worked at the hospital as a nurse tech. I needed something supplement my income. College student, poor, that's how it goes, hand in hand a lot of times. And so I was a side hustler. And then you may have a small business. You may be a small business owner where you start out maybe as a solopreneur. It's just you, and you grow your business, and maybe you start taking on employees, and then again, of course, a nonprofit. And so I want us to start with a basic definition of what an entrepreneur is, because a lot of times we think, when you think entrepreneur, you think of people that are out there doing the big things, and that's true. But don't forget the small things that we do to start and launching our business. So according to the dictionary, Merriam-Webster, an entrepreneur is one who organizes, manages, and assumes the risk of a business or enterprise, a go-getter. And when I looked at that, I said, you could also say that a nurse is one who organizes, manages, and assumes the risk of a business or enterprise. We assume the risk of taking care of that patient and doing the things that we need to do to make sure that they get back to where they are with their optimal health. And I don't know about you, but most of the nurses I meet are go-getters. So that's how I look at it. So let's talk a little bit about nurse entrepreneurship. So we're talking to those side hustlers, entrepreneurs, and those business moguls, because maybe you're on here and you've got it all figured out and you've got your $1 billion business, and I'd say kudos to you. And so if you are, let me know, because those are the people I also want to highlight on my show, but we'll get on to that in a moment. So this is some statistics that I found, and I thought this was very interesting. This is an article by Wilson, Whitaker, and Whitford and the online journal Nursing. And it says, nurses comprise 80% of the healthcare workforce, yet nurses are seldomly seen as equal partners in healthcare. And that struck me, because here we are the largest group in healthcare, but yet we have the least access to the table. We're less likely to be in the boardroom. I sat across from the diversity, equity, and inclusion director, right, of a major hospital system, not just one particular hospital, but of the system. And we were talking about her building her board and making sure that the board was diverse. And so I asked a question. I said, that sounds great. How many nurses are on your board? And she said, well, they're working. So for us, and so we want them to have a voice, but they're not technically on the board. And my first thought was, why don't you have a nurse leader on your board that maybe doesn't work from your hospital if you're worried about conflict of interest, but have a nurse leader on your board? And I wanted to get into a deeper conversation with her, and we were at an event, so I didn't get a chance to do that. But that's a problem. That's a problem. And it says this article said that only 0.5 to 1% of nurses worldwide are entrepreneurs, and only 0.118% of nurses in the US are entrepreneurs. So can I just say that the market is not saturated with nurse entrepreneurs by any means? And that means we have a great opportunity to make an impact in our world and in our little area of the world. And so I talked to a lot of nurses who are like, well, yeah, everybody's doing this and everybody's doing that, and there's no room for me. And yet we're looking at not even 1% of nurses in the US are entrepreneurs. That's mind blowing to me. So one of the reasons that keeps nurses from thinking that they can be entrepreneurs, because I've talked to several nurses and they're like, oh, I didn't even know nurses could own businesses, is because of some of the perceptions that we have. And even our own president, President Biden, recognized the fact that nurses are underpaid and under-respected in the healthcare system. And this is some of the reasons why. In looking at this, we have statements like this, and no offense to my physician colleagues, but this is the way the rhetoric is. And it says, patients deserve care led by physicians, the most highly educated, trained, and skilled health professionals. And so let's think about this, because what they're saying is that they have all the authority, the expertise, and we're not trained as well as they are. But yet, I have to say, I'd be very curious to see if a physician could really, figure out how to do all the stuff with the IV pumps and get them primed and ready to go. And could they figure out how to get those pesky sponges on and things that you have to do for those wound vacs, right? Because I've seen some creative nurses that can cut out some interesting patterns to put it on those wounds for that wound vac. I'm highly impressed. And here's my point with this. Just because you're educated differently doesn't mean that there isn't rigor in your practice. And so it's these statements that cause a lot of confusion in the healthcare space. Another one, an article in Nurse Economics cites a study that says registered nurses did not perceive themselves to be leaders, despite ample evidence that nurses are trained to be change agents and patient advocates. And so this is a matter of perception, not just of our colleagues, but also of ourselves, which is why I wanted to share this with you today. In another article, there were 3 barriers that were identified for nurses serving on boards. And I happen to be with an organization, Nurses on Boards, and I happen to be with the Indiana Coalition, Indiana Nurses on Boards. And I made sure that I update my board appointments and things like that it's on there, because I know we need to be at the table. And if you want my opinion, I think we need to own the table, but that's a whole other story. That's where entrepreneurship comes in. So they identified 3 barriers. One was gender. 90% of the RNs in the US are women, and women are underrepresented on boards, or, you know, across all spheres and aspects and careers, right? So businesses don't have a lot of women on their boards, and that's changing. That's improving. We have more women leading businesses, more women are on the boards. But when you look at the opportunity, when I look at different businesses that I want to partner with, one of the things I look at, if they have a board of directors, I look to see who's on the board of directors, because I'm looking for someone that looks like me. Why? Because then I know maybe we can have a conversation about the things that the population that I represent would need. And maybe we can find common ground. It's a lot harder to find common ground when you have, so everyone is thinking the same and you want to introduce something new. The other second thing is a belief that nurses aren't able to weigh in on safety and quality issues. Um, this comes up a lot, as well as in court. Maybe the nurses don't know what they're talking about, but the nurses are the front lines. We see what works and doesn't work. Nurses are very innovative. I've seen nurses develop techniques and things, and now there's innovation where they're making inventions and patenting items because they're making our lives easier. So you can't say that nurses aren't able to weigh in on these things, because we're there and we know what happens and what produces good quality care. And the last is the potential conflict of interest related to placing an employee in a voting capacity. So my question is, if you are hesitant to use your own employees, why can't you seek out a nurse leader out here in the common area, out here in the marketplace, to fulfill that role? And so these are things that are coming up. And I bring this up because having that voice and leadership is so important for nurses. So a nurse entrepreneur is a proprietor of a business that offers nursing services of a direct care, educational, research, administrative, or consultative nature. So all in there, you can do all kinds of businesses with your nurse education, with your nursing education. Nurses are innovators, visionaries, and reformational. We make change happen. And so when you put it in this context, in this framework, when you understand that nurses can and do anything, that opens up the world to you. So let's take a look at this. This was listed in Forbes, and it was the 7 characteristics of successful entrepreneurs. And so you need to have self-motivation, understand what you offer, the ability to take risks, know how to network, basic money management skills, flexibility, and passion. So let's start with self-motivation. As a nurse, how many times have you seen something that needed to be done and immediately just started doing it without someone asking you? It seemed like there was a need to be filled and you were available, so you took care of it. Or understanding what you offer, that, you have a certain skill set and you are good at, let's say, teaching someone a technique. So you understand that you're the go-to person that everybody's going to teach, that they want you to teach them how to start IVs. And taking risks. How many times as a nurse have we had to figure out what's the best way to treat a patient or help a patient, when to make that phone call, who gets the first care? We have to triage all these different things. We take risks every day. And know how to network. How many times have we had to call another unit and say, hey, I need to borrow this piece of equipment, ours is down. Or you need to call the pharmacy and say, hey, I have a question on this and this is why. And, help me understand these medications because these may interact and these patients are having these symptoms. We know how to network. We know how to collaborate. Basic money management skills. We know how to budget and look at how many people are coming in basis, our patient ratio, and our acuity. Oh, and then let's add in the fact that maybe some of us are home care nurses and we know how to help our clients figure out how much money they can spend on their food, their medicine, etc. And look at the fact that, hey, their insurance doesn't cover this drug, but it may cover that drug. We understand basic money management skills. And then flexibility. How many times have you gone into your unit and you thought you were going to have 5 patients, but now you have 6? Or maybe you found out you have an admission, or someone's going home as soon as you walk in the door, and your idea of what your day was going to be is going to change rapidly because it's an ever moving situation. And then passion. We bring passion to our career as nurses. And I want you to rediscover that passion. So if you're heading into that area of burnout and you're looking for something different to do, let's rediscover that passion as a nurse. And so when I look at these characteristics of a successful entrepreneur, I want to tell you, you already have what you need to be successful as an entrepreneur. So let's just go ahead and move on to myth number 1. I don't have time. And for a lot of time, that's exactly what I thought. I don't have time to do this. I'm busy. I have jobs. I always have more than once. I have jobs. I have family to take care of. I've got XYZ, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I don't have time. And this is what I had told myself for many years. But I want to tell you how to get what you want, manage your time effectively without driving yourself insane. I had to learn this the hard way. When I told you I had multiple jobs, I've always been that type of person. So I started out working as a CNA in the nursing home, and I quickly realized I can't pay my bills on a CNA salary. And this is years and years ago. So I got a second job working at Kmart. It was in retail. And so I would work my day shift job, come home, take a shower, fix dinner, pack a lunch, take a nap, work my second shift job, work that till midnight, come home, drive a half hour home, take a shower, sleep for 4 hours, get up and work my full-time job. And I did that day after day after day, and oftentimes without a break. And I went and did that for 42 days straight. And at day 42, sleeping about 4 hours a night, I had severe exhaustion. I remember coming up the stairs. I lived on the second floor of my apartment building. We had no elevator. So I walked up the stairs, got to my door, opened the door of my apartment, shut the door, didn't even get to lock it, slid down the wall and passed out on my floor. Now I was in my 20s then, and I want to say I learned my lesson there. I was so exhausted. I woke up 2 hours later, crawled across the floor to the phone, called in for my second shift job, and then proceeded to call in for the next day because I knew I could not do anything. I crawled to the couch and laid there and slept for a good 4 or 5 hours. Then I got up to get something to eat and finally could take a bath and go to bed, and I had to rest. I'm saying all of this because we can drive ourselves into the ground. And I learned a very valuable lesson is that I can manage my time more effectively, and that I need to do this without driving myself to exhaustion. And I learned to make time my friend instead of my enemy. So this wonderful book that I read when I started out as a brand new nurse supervisor in a busy psychiatric unit. And I read this book and it says, get out of your own way at work. And he says, you may waste time because you're in a reactive mode, meaning that you don't make and take time to think. You may also feel that doing more faster will make you more effective. You'll probably feel like you spend all day at work reacting to stuff, emails, documents, requests. Here's the irony, and it's huge. by taking time to think. And by that, I mean adopting a proactive measure twice, cut once strategy to your workday, week, and month. You save time because you're more effective and the quality of your work will be better. And so I learned to make time my friend. And one of the things that I did is that I started to guard my time, because what I realized, I was letting what they would call the tyranny of the urgent come in. And everyone else's agenda was taking precedent over what I needed to do and my day. And so I learn how to effectively block my time so that I have the time to do the things that I needed and wanted to do. And then I made sure I put myself on the calendar. So we're going to talk a little bit more about this. So I had to learn how to say no. And someone told me that no is a complete sentence. What I did not recognize was that I was very much a people pleaser. I didn't like to say no to people. I wanted people to like me. I wanted to make sure that I was there for everyone. When you grow up as the oldest, the more responsible, mature one, a lot of times we take on that. I'm very type A personality, very driven. And so I want to be perfect and make everyone happy, because I learned at an early lesson, you make people happy, you get stuff. I'll give you an example. When I was in um, high school, I got my very first report card in high school and I got straight A's. And when I got straight A's, I noticed that people were giving me attention, giving me monetary gifts, and I got special privileges that no one else would get. And so I learned that performance then uh, would give you the things that you would want, validation. So I would seek validation through my performance in a lot of ways. And so because of that, I had a hard time saying no to people, because I needed to perform for you to like me, for me to be validated that what I was doing was worthy. When I understood that my value and worth doesn't come in just in my performance, but it's innate into who I am and in my relationship to my creator. When I understood those things, then there's a shift. And so he writes here that people pleasing may be a charming seduction technique in children, right? You make people happy, they give you candy, right? But carried into adulthood, it leads to all kinds of problems. Instead of listening to yourself, you've conditioned yourself to listen to others. And so we'll hear things like, oh, you can't start your business right now because I need you at home to make dinner. Or you can't start your business because your kids are in so many activities that you don't have time for that. And you have to sacrifice and make time for everyone else. And I'm not saying those things aren't important, but how we approach them may be different. And maybe not saying no completely, but maybe not yet or not now. And so he says you have trouble with boundaries. And this is something that I had to learn to establish those boundaries. So in your quest for yes, you find it hard to say no. And I've actually had to work towards saying no. There might be great opportunities out there, but it might not be the right opportunity for you right now. And it may not be the right opportunity for you, but maybe I could pass it on to someone else. And I had to learn that saying no is not a rejection of someone, nor is it a rejection of them rejecting me. And that fear of them rejecting me. If no causes a problem with you now, then that's your issue. And so I often tell people, no, that's a great and worthy project, and I support you in what you're doing, but I can't take my focus on what I'm doing right now. I just don't have the capacity to accommodate you right now. So I'm going to have to say no. And I had to say that to a board. I was on a nonprofit board. I've been on there for 4 years. I enjoyed what I did. I wholeheartedly supported them, but I entered a season in my life where I was required to be at home more, required to take care of my husband because he had health challenges. And I knew that I could not continue in that capacity. And I needed to step back, and my board appointment was up anyway. And so I opted not to renew and stay on that board. And again, I support their cause, and I enjoyed my time, and I learned so much being with them. But I knew it was time for me to say no and to establish that boundary. And so if you don't, you take on too much. You want to be loved, so you trust too easily. And as a result, you're giving away your power. And so I'm having you to take back your power by establishing those healthy boundaries. Jim Donovan said, there has never been a person who on their deathbed say they wish they had spent more time at the office. Take the time to enjoy your life. And so my question is, you're thinking about starting your business. Do you want to be on your deathbed regretting the business that you never got started because you spent more time building someone else's dream? Now, I want to say this. There are some of you that are entrepreneurs and you're very entrepreneurial in the space where you work, and maybe you're the vice president, CEO of a business that's owned by others, and that's something certainly different and worthwhile in doing. But for those of us that are called to step out there and be on our own and be an entrepreneur in our own space, when are you going to start? Taking that time to enjoy your life, you're betting on that you'll have more time later on down the road. It's kind of like kicking that can, but you're never guaranteed if you're going to get that opportunity to do it again. And so when are you going to start living your life? And that's why he talks about take time to enjoy your life, make a practice of noticing the small everyday sights and sounds in your world. But I want to say, when are you going to enter into a place where you give yourself permission to say yes to yourself by saying no to something else? And so one of the things that you can do in starting your business when you say you don't have time is to start with what you have. Start small, right? Do something for your business every day. When I started, I would like to say this. Most of the time people see when you're in business, oh, they see all the stuff that you're doing now. People say, oh, I can't believe you get all this stuff done. How are you doing everything that you do? I didn't start doing everything all at once. I successfully built things along the way, and that's what you need to do. So do something for your business every day. I don't care if it's just one idea. Maybe you're going to sit down and write out an outline for your book. Maybe you're going to write your mission statement. Maybe you're going to meet with someone because you're looking at leasing a space. Do one thing in your business every day. So set a timer and start a task. So set a timer for 15 minutes. Give yourself 15-minute increments. I learned this little trick, and this is how I manage my time. And you can certainly do it in a way that works for you. Not every system works, but for me, I manage my day in 15-minute increments. And so I actually have 15-minute appointments on my schedule. Why? Because there are certain things that I can do in 15 minutes. It doesn't take all day, but I can knock some things out, or I can meet someone, have a quick conversation for 15 minutes, knowing that I have something else to do. And that gives us both permission to exit that appointment at the appropriate time. So maybe you have something that you need to do for your business. You can set a 15-minute timer and start the task. One of the things that I'm doing that's for personal, not for business, is that I'm practicing my French. So I took French in high school and college. And so I wanted to practice my French. So I use an online app and I practice my French about 15 minutes every night before I go to bed. I do that. And that's kind of my wind down time is I do my little French lesson and I get my little coins and things like that. And it helps me to relearn the things that I've already learned and gets my French a little bit better. And so I put that little 15 minutes in my day to practice my French lesson. Whatever it is that you can do. So maybe for 15 minutes, you're going to sit down and put together a social media post. And then you can add time if you need to, but keep track of those tasks. The other thing you can do is plan the next day before you go to bed. I love to do this. I plan what I'm going to wear because it's a lot easier than trying to find something when I'm getting up rushing through my day. Having a plan in place allows you to get a quick start on your morning routine. And so I'll often pack my lunch the day before. If I know I'm going to go to the office in Indy, I'm going to pack my lunch the day before. It's all ready to go. All I do is have to grab it. I'll have the coffee that I want. For the morning, I'll pack a snack. I prepare for the day because I know I'm going to need a snack later on in the afternoon. So I prepare all those things that they're ready to go. And then set attainable goals. Break larger goals into smaller pieces so you can hit your target each time. I'm in a group, and one of the things that we do every day is we set a daily goal, our one daily goal that we must do. And every day we put in our one thing, and then we go back and we track our one thing and make sure that we've gotten that one thing done. So set those attainable goals. So maybe there's a goal that you have of you want to launch your business by a certain time. So then set it out, the task, each task, and put on there a timeline that will help you get that done. Get lots of rest and take breaks. Now, people say to me, I can't believe you do all this. Do you even sleep? I get this a lot. I can tell you, yes, I sleep. I need at least 6 hours, better 8, best 10 hours for me to function optimally. I need my sleep and I guard my sleep time. That is one of the biggest changes I made, having learned that I do not function as well. I'm not as productive and I physically hurt when I don't get my sleep. So I've learned to get my rest and to take breaks when I need to so that I can be more productive. I take small breaks throughout the day. My watch even reminds me, oh, you haven't gotten up yet. Get up and walk around. So I get up and go walk around because I want to make sure that I'm doing things for me that's healthy. I eat a good meal. Usually my assistant's here to remind me to eat a meal. But I'm very good about eating my breakfast, and then I try to keep snacks so I can have a meal and then have a healthy dinner at night. So I look at those things to make my life better because I need to bring my best self to be more productive during the day. Number 5, invest your time in training. There are hundreds of training videos online, podcasts, workshops. The more you learn, the more productive you will become. What I do is I have an hour commute when I'm leaving the office in Indianapolis to get back to Anderson. So I have an hour commute. So I put on a podcast. I'll listen to one of my own podcast episodes to critique it and see how I can change things and make it better. Or I'll listen to someone else's podcast and give me ideas. Or I will do a talk, listen to a talk that we have, or listen to something inspirational. And I use that time to be productive. And that's kind of my thinking time on my drive home. I also put in little times for investing in myself. So on Sundays is my day for worship and my time for personal development. I set aside Sundays for worship and personal development. And so I want to make sure that I take the time out for myself and invest back into me. You are your best asset. And so finding a way to invest in yourself will definitely pay off. When I started my legal nurse consulting business, before I even launched the business and started, I read so many books on consulting. I invested in training so I can learn what a legal nurse consultant is supposed to do and how to do it. I invested what I need to get it done. And so you can do little things to start investing in yourself. Can I tell you that as of last year, I had never used Canva. I had to learn how to use Canva. I invested the time into learn how to do it. I played around with it. I got frustrated, so I just said I put it to the side. But then I took a class with a friend who teaches Canva, and she offered this class, and I took her class, and it started to click, and it made sense. And once I started learning how to do the Canva, I said, "Oh, I can make a commercial." So I started making little videos and commercials, and adding this and doing that. And you learn more and more as you go on. You start with the little thing that you need to do and invest in yourself. So let's talk about time because we really want to understand time. And so the typical American schedule is 40 hours a week, right? So if you work 40 hours a week times 48 weeks, I took out 4 weeks for vacation. That's 1,920 hours per year in just working. So but here's what I want you to see. If you have 24 hours, 7 days a week times 48 weeks, you have 8,064 hours per year. What are you doing with the other hours of your time? If you look at your average day, 24 hours per day divided by 3, you've got 8 hours, right? So we have 8 hours for work, 8 hours for sleep, you have 8 hours to live. So living includes spending time eating, spending time with family, friends, working on your business. You have 8 hours in which to live if you have your 8 hours of sleep. And I think a lot of times we don't look at our time from that perspective. So how do you carve up those 8 hours? And so this is what I did. I just did a sample daily plan. You don't have to have this plan. This is just a sample. Okay, so we've got this day, you're going to the gym at 6 a.m. I applaud you for that. I'm just saying. Shower and breakfast at 7, prayer and meditation and commute from 8 to 9. 9 o'clock, you have a staff meeting. Now, I used to put in my schedule time, and I say time block. This is time that I have a project or I don't want meetings to be scheduled. So I'll block that time for me. But I found that to be very closed off and not negative, but just it just didn't flow. So I changed that to glorious purpose time. And so I think of that my glorious purpose time is my time where I'm going to do something that I need to work on for myself, whether it's I'm going to set that time apart. And so I'll use that time to write a chapter, write a blog, upload a video, do something like that. Or I may just use that for my personal development or read a book or whatever I need to do. That's my glorious purpose time. And what I do is I put that on my calendar so no one can schedule during that block of time. And on my commute home on Mondays and Fridays, I use that time to listen to podcasts and other things. Then you maybe have your business lunch. So maybe you put a business lunch with someone. Then you have your client meetings. You put a time on there. Okay, this is what I'm going to respond to emails. And then on my commute home, I'm going to listen to the Nurse Shark Academy podcast because why not? I'm going to have dinner with friends. Oh, and then at 8 o'clock, just before we go, I get ready for bed, get it wind down. I still have some stuff on my mind. I'm going to outline a business idea. I'm just going to put the outline together. That way it's there. It's off my mind. I can go to sleep and I can pick it up tomorrow. Your 3 main tasks you put on here. Hey, I need to write that newsletter article. I got to meet with a realtor. I got to research a certification class. These are the 3 things I need to do for my business today. I'm going to do that. Maybe on your to-do list, I got to write out that vision statement. Take 15 minutes, set my timer, write out my vision statement. And then I'm going to put on there, hey, after I write out that business idea at 8 o'clock, 8:30, I'm going to prep for tomorrow so that I'm ready to go tomorrow. So using your time blocking can help you be more productive and effective during the day. Using the lulls in our day to move us one step closer to our goals. So maybe you've got an extra 10 minutes waiting at the doctor's office. Take that time to read that article on stress management that you've been wanting to get to, been putting off. And pull it up. Write a draft of an email that you want to send out to your team. Use that time and take a mental break and just think, dream, create a vision. And sometimes when I find myself stuck at the train stop, there's a train, I'm stuck there, I'm waiting, I got 10 minutes because it's a very long train. If you live in Anderson, trains can be long. And so I may use that time to think about an ideal project. Maybe I'll dictate something in my phone. I try to be productive and use that time wisely. So let's go on to myth number 2, because again, I want to be cognizant of your time, and we are already getting close to our time. So myth number 2, I don't know where to start. I'm going to say this: start at the beginning. It may seem like, okay, but what do I mean by that? Okay, so John Maxwell says people are never able to outperform their self-image. And what I hear a lot of nurses say is, I don't know how, I don't know where to go, I don't know how to get started, I don't think I can. And so you need to look at yourself as a go-getter, as a starter. And so just start where you are. Napoleon Hill says, it's a well-known fact that one comes finally to believe whatever one repeats to oneself, whether the statement be true or false. And how many of us have said, I'm just a nurse. I'm just a nurse. And I hate hearing that, because you're not just anything. And so let's change that. Instead of saying, I am just a nurse, how about saying, I am a just nurse? What does that mean? That means that in my business, I operate from an area of justice, and I want to make sure that people get what they need, and I walk in integrity. I am a just nurse. It depends on how you change your mentality. So when I say start at the beginning, I mean start at the beginning. Brene Brown says, talk to yourself the way you talk to someone you love. Self-kindness is self-empathy. What are you telling yourself? Again, Jim Donovan, accept yourself as you are right now, good or bad. Start with what you have. Be honest with yourself and acknowledge where you are. The more you can accept the reality of what is instead of how you wish things were, the closer you are to creating a happy and successful life. Start with where you are. Take an inventory, take a personal inventory and say, I'm not where I want to be, but I can start from where I am. I'm going to read you this really quick. This is from 2 Kings 4:1-7. And I love the story of it because it's a great illustration here. And so let's start. So it says, one of the wives of the sons of the prophets cried out to Elisha, your servant, my husband, has died. You know your servant feared the Lord. Now the creditor is coming to take my two children as his slaves. Now, how many of us have had issues with the creditor? We've gotten to the place where we're like, look, something's got to give because they're calling me. The student loan people are after me, right? Elisha asked her, what can I do for you? Tell me, what do you have in the house? This is what's important. I want you to know you already have what you need. You have your nursing skills. You have your nursing degree. You have those things that you need to get started to be successful in your business. Start with what you have. She said, your servant has nothing in the house except a jar of oil. Then he said, go out and borrow empty containers from all your neighbors. Do not get just a few. Then go in and shut the door behind you and your sons and pour oil into all these containers. Set the full ones to one side. So she left. After she shut the door behind her and her sons, they kept bringing her containers and she kept pouring. When they were full, she said to her son, bring me another container. But he replied, there aren't any more. Then the oil stopped. She went and told the man of God, and he said, go and sell the oil and pay your debt. You and your sons can live on the rest. Here's what I want to tell you. Elisha meets a widow who owed a debt that she could not pay. He showed her that she had what she needed to not only pay her debt, but to take care of her family. What did she do? She took what she had. She went and found support and friends to help her along the way. She borrowed those jars. She put what she had into those jars and was able to create something out of nothing. This is a miracle of God. Create something out of nothing, get more than she needed to not only take care of her debt, but take care of her family that she could live off of. That's what we're talking about. Starting with what you had. And I started out my business. I didn't start out with as a legal nurse consultant, start out with a CNA training school, didn't start out with any of those things. I started out with the one skill that I had, and I figured it out. I can teach CPR. I had that skill. I went to the training class. I found the training class. That skill, that one skill, has catapulted me forward in so many different areas to where now, even as a nursing student, I didn't realize it then, but even as a nursing student, I was learning about business and entrepreneurship because I was now doing corporate classes, not only doing classes for the hospital and getting paid to teach those classes for the hospital, but I also was doing side classes and having corporate clients come in and say, can you come teach a CPR class for us? I started with what I had. And then once I got enough to pay for the items that I needed for the supplies, I invested in my business and bought my own CPR training equipment. So it starts with focus and clarity. You have to develop a clear vision of what problem your business is going to solve for your customers. And so at the Nurse Shark Academy, we help you answer those questions of, I have a business idea. What do I do next? We give you practical tips because I want you to get started and get going. And this is what I've worked with a lot of coaches, good and bad, over the years. I've invested in training programs, good and bad, and I've learned from all of them. But one of the things, the biggest frustrations that I had with some of the training programs is that they would tell you these things and never give you the how, the practical tips. And that's what we do at the Nurse Shark Academy. And then you'll begin to define your core for your company and begin with the end in mind. You need to be persistent. Don't take no for an answer. In the book by Rachel Hollis, Girl Wash Your Face, she's talked about being turned down by multiple publishers about her book. She describes what to do when that voice of authority tells you no. The answer is you find another way. And this is, I just had this conversation with someone today about finding another way of what we wanted to get done and accomplished. And it looked like there was going to be a no from one person, but we're going to find another way to get it done. Your dream is worth fighting for. And while you're not in control of what life throws at you, you are in control of the fight and how you show up. Face your fears and take action. It takes some gumption. I did not know that I was going to be where I am today. I had no idea that I was going to start a business, that I was going to be an entrepreneur, that it was going to lead to me developing two different companies, working two different avenues. I had no idea that one day I'd have a podcast, a news show, writing a book, doing all these different things. I never knew that this is where my life was headed. When I started out as a CNA working in the nursing home, as I started out as a student teaching CPR classes on the side. But it takes, that persistence to go in and give it and do it. And then do the time. Instant success is a fantasy. Everyone had to start somewhere. Even Bill Gates had to start somewhere. Right? And so invest in yourself and your company. Do those things that get you started and get you in momentum and get going. And then learn from your mistakes and keep moving forward. Not every business idea I had panned out. I started out, I was doing some consulting with a genetics company, and they were partnering with this company to do allergy testing. And we were in the beta process, and I was a nurse practitioner helping them do the cheek swabs for the allergy testing. We were going to bring it to the marketplace so you can get your allergy testing at your home without having to go through all the pain of getting stuck with a bunch of needles and all this stuff. And it was a great business model to start out. It was a great idea. But the problem is some of the things that they had in place didn't pan out. And so the company folded. Now, I was just coming in as a consultant, not, as the nurse practitioner consulting, helping them implement the project. So all that back end I wasn't responsible for. And so that partnership, that venture didn't move forward. But I learned so much from that. I learned how to pivot with those mistakes. I started out with a company, and they were doing genetic testing for people, and they were offering it to Medicare beneficiaries because it was part of their package. Well, that since petered out, and I went to another group. And so we learned from that. Develop a strategy. So you're going to have your plan, and you're going to develop that plan for your business. Invest in your field, product, or service that you plan to offer. And so every time I made a little bit of profit, I could take that and invest it back into my business. So I ended up buying equipment for my business and finding things that I need so that I can grow later on as my plan to shift. Is there a market for your service or product? So you're going to be looking at those things. We're going to talk about that. There's a lot of competition out there, but competition isn't necessarily bad. Who needs your product and how can you be different? And then what questions or problems does your target audience often have? And one of the questions that I did is I put a poll out there right here on LinkedIn and asked questions about what it is that you need to have for this to be successful in your business as a nurse. And then, do you need to lease space or can you work from home? These are some questions that you can throw into your business strategy and things that you can have answer, be working on even as you're planning your business. And do you need a business license to open? I'm working with a massage therapist right now, and she's looking at opening up her own massage therapy school. We're investigating what licenses she need to have, etc. And then what additional training do you need and where can you get that information? So looking at these things, you can get started on your business today. You don't have to wait. And I love this quote here from Zechariah 4:9 and 10. It says, about not despising the small beginnings. It says, Zerubbabel's hands have laid the foundation of this house, and his hands will complete it. What foundation are you laying? And the Nurse Shark Academy, we talk about those foundational things of setting that foundation in place so that when you build, have a solid foundation for your business, and you don't have to try to reinvent things. For example, I've had several nurses that come in and they have a business, but they don't have their policies and procedures. They don't have their job descriptions. They're wanting to hire people, but they don't have the technical things in place. I hope you get those things done and get those things in place. And so he goes on and says, then you will know that the Lord of the armies has sent me to you. For who despises the day of small things? These are the 7 eyes of the Lord, which scan throughout the whole earth, will rejoice when they see the ceremonial stone in Zerubbabel's hand. In other words, he started with the small thing of the ceremonial stone to build this huge house of the Lord, the huge temple. And you start small. You start at the beginning, and that's my point. So let's get on to myth number 3 as we get through our time. And I'm just checking the comments here. It says money. So some money matters. So this is where we talk about, I don't have the money. Financial freedom starts with you. So many of us grew up with hearing money is the root of all evil. And it's actually, the actual saying is, the love of money is the root of all evil. Money in and of itself has no value. The only value that money has is as a tool and what it can do for you and do for others. So those who chase money may find it, but soon lose it. So if we're running after money, this is things that we don't do. We don't chase after money. Hear me now. We don't chase after money. But we understand that money will come to us when we provide that value to the marketplace. Those who understand the value that money can bring to self and to others will find it and attract more, because you're not repelling money away with your thought. If you think money is evil, you're going to want to repel that away from you. So mindset matters. And this is a book by John Hope Bryan. And those of you who follow me know I love his book. And this is one of them, The Memo. And he says, mindset matters. A positive mindset naturally leads to having aspirations for our lives. Aspiration is a code word for hope, and hope leads to a sense of opportunity, a view of the world through the lens of possibilities where the glass is always half full. Hope is the beginning of true wealth. You have to come with the understanding that you can have what you need and to make what you need to be successful. And you may start small. Again, I started out teaching CPR classes on the side. And now, by the way, I still teach CPR classes. So I still teach CPR classes because I found that is one of the ways that I can support my business and help others at the same time. During the pandemic, I was one of the only CPR training schools that were open to in-person training, because some people needed to have the in-person training. And we put in COVID protocols and precautions and all the things that we did. But in my county, in our area, I was one of the only places that were still taking students because the hospitals were closed down. They weren't letting visitors in. And so I pivoted, changed, made my classes smaller, and then brought them in to do their training and social distance and did all the things that we needed to do so that I can accommodate the needs that they had, because I realized we needed bodies, we needed nurses out there working, not sitting at home because they couldn't get their CPR training done. And so then the question, when we talk about money and how to manage our resources, my question to you is, how do you manage your finances at home? One of the things that I do, and right now is tax season, but one of the things I do every year is an inventory of what we spent the previous year versus the years prior to that. I have been watching it the whole life of our company. I look at where our incomes, our expenses are. I look at which line item made the most money. And so you can look and see where your income will be by different areas. And so look at research those businesses that you want to look at and look at the potential income for those. And then how are you managing your finances at home? Are you the person that robs Peter to pay Paul? Are your home finances kind of in a mess? Then I would say let's take a look at your home finances and get that squared away as you start working towards your business, because you can't treat your business that way. If you have employees, they're going to want to get paid. And if you aren't paying your employees, guess what? You're not going to have a business. And you might also have a lawsuit on your hand because you'll run afoul of labor laws. You have to understand those things. If you don't have money coming in, how are you going to get your vendors paid? Because guess what? If you have internet and you're leasing a space, they're going to want their money. And so how are you managing your money? And this is very important. And so in the 1 Minute Entrepreneur, he writes, take care of your numbers and your numbers will take care of you. And so doing that financial analysis for yourself will be very helpful. And then Steve Malia writes, how you feel about money will determine your ongoing experience with money. If you feel money is a pain, it will manifest as such. If you don't like money, you will avoid it. On the other hand, if you feel good about money, you will attract it. It's what we put in our mind and how we think about it, and we will bring those things to us. I love this, again, from the 1 Minute Entrepreneur, because this was very pivotal for me in changing how I approach money. And he says, don't be a banker for your customers. Timely collection of invoices is crucial. And I had to learn that the hard way with a business that we had, where we had students that owed us money, and we were very kind and said, "Oh, pay us later," blah blah blah. They never did. We looked up, we're $10,000 in bad debt. Okay, it's part of your responsibility to make sure that you timely collect for those invoices. And I make sure I get the invoices out in a timely manner, and I have it set automatically. I get a student registered for CPR class. I send them an invoice. I do a work as a legal nurse consultant. I have a timekeeping system which tells me how much to bill, how much time I spent on that particular case, and I send them an invoice. Making a profit is always a necessity if you want to stay in business. Making a profit is always a necessity if you want to stay in business. Because if you're not making money in your business, you have a hobby and not a business. Without good cash management, you'll never make it as an entrepreneur. You need to understand what's coming in and what's going out. And so I encourage you to do that. Other things, if you focus continually on debt or even getting out of debt, you tend to attract more of it. If you focus on wealth, you will attract wealth. Your focus could have been creating wealth instead of servicing debt. Your goal all month long is to grow your wealth. And this is again from Brian Carruthers in his Money Mindset, and understanding about your relationship to money. And I say this because a lot of times as nurses, we come from a place of scarcity, right? There's not enough equipment. We don't have enough staff. And so we think about that scarcity, and we bring that into our business relationship too. He says it's a difference between saving your money to grow wealth after all the bills are paid, as opposed to buying a new pair of Jordans or a fancy piece of jewelry. And so, are you saving your money because you're going to accumulate wealth so that you have extra income to not only just for you, but to also impact your world, your environment, to help others? So maybe you can help someone else pay their bill. Maybe you can help your mom buy a house. Maybe you can help your child go to school. Maybe you can invest and help some other child go to school and invest in a scholarship. Maybe you want to give something back as a nurse so that you can invest in more nurses into the field. Whatever you want to do, but you have to have that capital, that money, in order to do those things. So let's talk about how to get money for your business, because that's partially probably why you're here. And so one of the ways you can do is bootstrapping. And this is what I've done. And this is up to you and how you want to do it. And I'm not saying that one way is better than the other. You have to choose the path that is right for you. So can you work overtime in your job? Maybe you need to set aside a little extra money to take that course so that you can become a legal nurse consultant. Or maybe you want to set aside a little extra money so you can invest in learning this skill or buying a piece of equipment for the business that you want. So maybe you can work some overtime. Okay, that's one way. Maybe you can get a second job. And so while I started with my other business that I had with my partners, one of the things that I did, I recognized, hey, I need to put some money to invest in this business. I want to really invest in this business. I got a second job, and I worked for hospice as I was seeing patients, working as a nurse practitioner, because I knew I needed that extra income. Maybe you have savings and you can pull from your savings. Maybe you can look around your house and sell some unused items so you can pay for that training course that you really, really need, or pay for that license that you really, really need to get started, or buy that little piece of equipment. Or that maybe you can start out small and build over time and start with one thing that can generate income, like teaching the CPR class, and then using that income to invest in the business to add on other things. So this is a very valid way of building your business. And I want to say, for a lot of us as nurses, we can't afford to quit our day jobs, right? Until our business is up, moving, and is successful and where we want it to go. And if you're like me as a nurse practitioner, because of the nature of the job that I do, I need to stay active anyway and work. And there are benefits that you have in your day job that you won't have until you're much later there, or that you have to pay for yourself as an entrepreneur, like health benefits, health insurance, like paid time off. Well, you don't have any PTO time. If you don't work in your business, you don't make money. And so these are things that you'll have to put into place. So for yourself, you want to get yourself and build a foundation to where if you're in your own business and you decide to take a 2-week vacation, you have money to pay yourself. You set aside your own PTO bank. So these are things that people don't talk about when you're starting out as an entrepreneur, that you need to really think through. There's another way you can raise capital. So you can look for angel investors. These are wealthy individuals who will put their money into invest in a startup. Oftentimes, they'll want a percentage of the business, and so you will owe them a percentage, and they may decide to, you can pay them back and eventually buy them out, but they'll usually, they don't want a big percentage. It's usually like 10% or so. Then you have grants. Maybe there's research and development grants that are available from government and community foundations, and so you may find some grants that are available out there for you. And I've certainly seen some. Comcast, by the way, has some grants for small businesses, particularly those that need some technology and things like that. So you may go for a grant like that. One of the local nonprofits that I'm with has a very small micro grant that you can get to put towards your business. Once you take some classes and training from them so that you can be successful, you have a potential money to put it to seed money into your business. And then partnerships and equity financing. So venture capital firms that invest in your business holdings, they usually want more percentage, and they usually will invest in you when your company is scaling. So you start a business and it's ready to get bigger, like your e-commerce business, and now you're getting more customers and you have to get an industrial plant or space and things like that. And that's when you may want to have a venture capital firm invest in you. And then crowdfunding, where you're raising money from lots of people giving small amounts or donations for maybe a small amount of equity. So someone's crowdfunding your book, and then at the end maybe you'll give them a copy of the free book, or give them a shout out of the book, however you want to do it. And so different things that you can use. So these are just some various ways that you can raise capital. And so I wanted you to know other ways that are out there. So there are ways to finance your dreams. Borrowing money, looking for those small business administration loans. You can get capital loans, where you get loans to help you with things like buying equipment and maybe expanding your workforce. And then maybe some micro loans, where you get some money, just some seed money for a particular project. And so there are smaller loan amounts. Then there's 401k loans. Maybe you'll borrow money from yourself. You're working your 9 to 5. You can borrow money from your 401k and then maybe use that to finance your business as a startup. And then of course, private loans. You can go to different types of investors or loaning entities. And I happen to know a couple that, even with less than stellar credit, they can help you get the money that you need to start your business, but your interest may be a little bit higher. And so I did talk to some people that are able to do that. And so, that's one of the things that we will have implemented in the Nurse Shark Academy is that we bring those people to the table, those money people to talk to you to help you get what you need and get started. So, in summary, and I'm gonna wrap these things up. We've been at it about an hour, and maybe we'll end a little early, and I'm okay with that. You can start working in your business today. You don't have to wait until you have all your ducks in a row because sometimes they're in a circle. Sometimes you move forward, and then sometimes you move backwards. The key is to move. Do something. Take action. Stop sitting on the sidelines. Get started in your nurse business. And there are ways to do that. So again, do something every day in your business. I started out with just writing out little things that I wanted to do, like a little action plan. I'd put on there, okay, well, today I'm going to write the outline. This is what I approached when I wrote my writing my book. I wrote out the outline. It started out with a story. I did a signature talk, and I used that talk to now write the book. And so I have the outline for the book. And then I looked at the different chapters and how did I want to break it out. And so now as I'm writing the chapters, things are going. So again, there are ways that you can get started in your business and learning new things. Um, Take the time to learn something new. One of the classes that I want to offer is about social media because I meet so many people tell me, "Oh, I don't have time to do social media," but you have a business. How else are you going to get your business out there? How else are people going to get talking about you and know where you are and find you? And so let's talk about those things. And so if you're ready to take action today, I want us to do something. And let's start with our quick Jumpstart Nurse Biz workshop. That's this April the 1st. It's this Saturday from 9 to 11. You can register at the nursesharkacademy.biz. You'll see that there. I put the link here. You can also take a picture of the QR code here. This is a live event. Just come. It's $27 for early bird registration. After that, it's $37. But here's the thing. We will go through those steps. We have a framework for you, and we'll talk about our framework to getting you started and launching your business. But this is for people that just are ready to take action today. They don't want to wait. Let's get going. Let's get started. I need the basics so I can hit the ground running. That's what this workshop's for. So if you want to take massive action, join us for this event. You can register at the nursesharkacademy.biz for this event. Take advantage of the early bird registration. Now, there are those of you that are like, I'm not sure if I'm ready for that workshop. Maybe that $27 investment is just too much for me right now. I get it. I hear you. So what I have for you is our ebook. And you can download our ebook and go to the nursesharkacademy.biz. Use the QR code here, and you can get our ebook. Use a promo code FINANCE, and you'll get the book for 99 cents. Now, originally, I was going to offer the book for free. But then the Lord spoke to me and said, no, you need to invest in yourself. And this is your first chance for some of you to take an investment in yourself and invest 99 cents to get an ebook on how to start taking action and starting your nurse-owned business. So if that's the bare minimum of what you got today, do that. Another reason why I don't want to offer for free is because I know if you pay for the book, you might actually read it. If you get free books, I've done this myself. I get free ebooks all the time. I put it in the file. I intend to go back to it and never do. But there's something about paying your hard-earned cash that makes you want to go in and actually do the thing. So it's very reasonable, very easy to do. Take action. Great insights in there just to get you started and pointing in the right direction. Please do so. Now, for those of you that do register for the class on Saturday, the ebook is included in the class, so you don't have to worry about that. That's included in your class, and you will get the ebook. But take a chance on yourself and start action. Now, for those of you that are very big action takers and you're just ready to go and hit the ground and you want to go, join the Nurse Shark Academy. You join the Nurse Shark Academy, you become a member. You get the Business Builder Masterclass, which includes our 6 sessions of building your business from idea to launch. We start with your why. We go through your business plan, marketing, all those different things. We build that out so that when you are ready to launch, you are ready to go forward. We do all that. It includes access to all our past trainings and video replays, monthly calls, access to our exclusive app, one-to-one coaching calls, and group coaching calls. And it's for 6 months. So you're not even locked in for a year. If you want to quit after 6 months and you've got what you need and you're done, fine. If you want to continue, you can always renew and keep going. So it's up to you. I made it very easy for you to join. When you join, you get access to all the trainings that we have. So then the workshop is included, ebook is included. All these things are coming in your membership. And then you have our video archive of all our past trainings, as well as access to the master class, should you want to take the master class as well. So you have all of this if you become a member of the Nurse Shark Academy. It includes everything. So there are ways for you to do that. It's a monthly membership. You pay your monthly membership fee. You can end your membership at any time. Obviously, if it's in the middle of the month, you pay for that month, but you can end it at the next month. And so you have all of that. So the QR code is there. You can go to our website and join the Nurse Shark Academy as a member and take advantage of everything. And then we work with you side by side as you build your business. So there's 3 ways to come in. You can, 1, get the ebook and take action and go do your thing. God bless you. You can take the Jumpstart class where we're going to get started and get you some basic tips, some quick practical tips to get you started and launching your business so you can take massive action then. Or you can join the Nurse Shark Academy as a member and get access to everything, as well as the one-on-one coaching calls to help you get your business going today. So those are 3 ways that you can work with us. I appreciate your time. Thank you for coming. This is how you can contact me. Not only can you contact me on LinkedIn, but I have my link tree here so you can contact us on all of our social media platforms. I thank you for coming, and I will take this time for questions. And let me go ahead and stop my share and see if there's any questions in the chat. Okay. All right. So far, I'm not seeing any questions. All right. So again, I want to thank you for your time. Thank you for showing up. And those of you, by the way, who have joined the Nurse Shark Academy, when you do join, you will get access to the replay of this workshop. So I really do appreciate everyone for coming. If you have any questions, always hit me up on my social media. You can contact me on LinkedIn and other places. And don't forget to tune into our podcast, which is available on Podbean or wherever you get your podcast. It's the Nurse Shark Academy show. Please, we are looking for guests as always. We want to highlight and spotlight nurse business owners. And so nurses that own their own businesses and are out there doing their thing, we want to put you on the show. And if you are a member of the Nurse Shark Academy, you also get a chance to spotlight your business on one of our shows. So that's a guarantee that you get a chance to be on the podcast as well as a member of the Nurse Shark Academy. So thank you for coming in. I'm going to leave this comment for you. And let's have a great day. And thank you for coming.